Hey guys, so this is more of a fine, I'll talk about it moment, just spit it out, get it over with, and be done with it, right? So I am a psychologist, so there's that. Do with that whatever you will. Episode 4 of Has Been Hotel. So a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts about this episode. So, disclaimer, I got my COVID booster and that thing has hands. Like, it's working immediately. Like, I'm already sick. It's crazy. But anyway. So, Angel and Val. Do I think you're weird and kind of gross if you ship them? I do. I can't say I don't, right? Back when, what was that thing called? With Sangwoo and Yoonbum? I read that because, it was very popular. Everybody was talking about it. The webtoon. I'll look it up what it's called. Sangwoo and Yoonbum. It was like Killing Stalking. There we go. And the amount of people who shipped those two, it was gross. It was disgusting. I'm sorry, it was. However, will I... Oh, wait. Let me not get ahead of myself. I do think it says something about you, whether it's like unresolved trauma or, some shadow work that you need to do. If you ship somebody like Yoonbum and Sangwoo from Killing Stalking, or if you ship Angel and Val. Like, I think that does say something about your psyche. It really does. And, I don't want to be that person to say, oh, you're not well, but I don't think you are. I don't think you can be, right? I don't think you can be well and find any interaction between those two, hot, right? So we all have, bodily, instinctual functions, right? I'm not talking about, you see them in a compromised position and you're like, wait, why was that kind of hot? Because I feel like, unfortunately, that does happen at, everybody, right? And this is the problem with episode 4, right? They do draw Angel Dust in some very compromised positions, plural, right? Angel Dust is in front of a mirror being, hit from the back and stuff, and, the chokers, the chains, the ball gags and stuff. There's a lot going on in that music video. But will I sit here and say that it's, not a correct depiction of abuse? I don't think I can say that, because I don't think that's true. I think it is a very good representation of abuse. Because what happens with abuse, right? In my opinion, now I'm just going to tell you the two on the top of my head. Obviously, this is a quickie. This isn't some peer-reviewed, researched video I'm making right now, but there's kind of two different ways that, abuse victims kind of lean towards before they reach peace, right? There's the, what's the word? There's the, in a way that you can't control it. There's a word for that. In voluntary fetishization of your own abuse, right? And then there's the extreme disgust. And I do think it's a spectrum, right? And so I did watch the little Addict music video, and I do think it did a slightly better job at depicting, abuse and depicting what, a victim is kind of going through. Slightly better. And I will say that I do believe that the music video is slightly, it's depicting that fetishization of abuse. So the biggest problem, which isn't inherently bad, right? Because that's how some abuse victims feel. That's a part of the process of healing, I believe. I truly believe that. So, the biggest problem with episode 4, I believe, is the fact that a person with an R kink, R fetish, storyboarded it. Because that's weird. That's uncomfortable, right? Because it's not about like how the victim fetishizes their own abuse, right? Or copes with their own abuse by pretending that it doesn't hurt them and by leaning into it, which is what I mean by fetishizing their own abuse, which is a part of the healing process. It's a normal part of it. Very unhealthy, but it's normal, right? Hold on, what point was I making? Okay, I got my train of thought back. So instead of episode 4 being about how a victim fetishizes their own abuse, which is the way I kind of saw it before I, learned about who storyboarded it, now it's this other person without that experience fetishizing this character's abuse. And that's where it's insulting. And that's where the problem is. So when I first watched through Husband Hotel, I understood episode 4 as this big, like, peeling back of layers of Angel Dust, right? Like, we kind of meet Anthony, right? Not Angel Dust. We meet Anthony. And that's the powerful part of episode 4. Anthony is this person who is broken inside and broken down to the point where they're at this point where their abuse has become a part of their identity that they can't even feel themselves being able to escape from because, they sold their soul, right? So he can't technically escape from it. But with the way this is set up, I do think it was very effective when Husk kind of got Angel Dust out of that. Now, I can make a whole other video about Husk at, ex Angel Dust. I think that, no, I will make a different video about that if it's wanted. But I do just want to say, I do think without any outside context, episode 4 is a correct depiction and portrayal of abuse. To say it isn't is wrong, in my opinion. Every survivor has their own different grappling with these processes of which they heal, right? Some people go straight to disgust. Some people, unfortunately, have to go through this stage where they fetishize their own abuse. And it's sad. And at some point, they reach the disgust phase. And they're over, when they heal a little bit more, they're over the whole, leaning into the hypersexuality, leaning into the, belief that this is all they're good for. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of how strippers, older strippers, feel so much pity for the new strippers, right? People who used to be strippers in their past, there's this whole community online where they're when the new strippers haven't yet realized that stripping isn't this big empowering thing, that it actually is very degrading and harming their psyche without them even realizing it. It's subconsciously harming your psyche as a person to be objectified in that way, and it's kind of this strange thing because in your conscious mind, it probably does feel really empowering to be a stripper, to be, looked at and desired in that way. It probably does feel really empowering and really good. But any past stripper, older stripper, retired stripper, will look at a newer stripper and be just wait till you reach that point, They're shaking their head in understanding and in love and in, support because they've been there. But they're just wait till you reach this point and you're going to look back and be that wasn't it, bro. My final thoughts are, if you ship Angel and Val, there is some sort of weird, unresolved trauma that you have with power or being stripped of your own power, depending on who Depending on who you kind of more so lean into, because everybody likes one person more in a ship than the other. Like, and this is a TMI, but in all Eren ships in Attack on Titan, I identify as Eren. That's crazy. Anyway, moving on. If you identify with Val, there's definitely a lot more like worrisome traumas you need to fucking focus on getting like therapy for, like real bad. And if you see yourself more in like Angel Dust and you ship these two, then, there's definitely some like power sort of trauma that you've experienced like a loss of your power and you need to work through that, or you've experienced this specific type of abuse and that needs to be worked through. But what I will not say is this is an inaccurate depiction or a celebration of abuse or anything like that, because I don't think it is. I think it's wrong to say that this is a wrong depiction of abuse, because like I said, everyone experiences it a little bit differently. Everyone is at different stages of healing, and Angel Dust, it seems, is trapped in this like involuntary fetishization of his own abuse, which is very sad, but it is common, unfortunately. And once he heals up, which it seems like is actually happening in season 1, he's gonna reach this disgusted like point, because he's pretty codependent right now and his identity is tied to the abuse he suffers to Valentino, right? So once all of that is, well, not all of it, but once he reaches like the next level of healing, he'll be at disgust and he'll be ready to move forward and like lead a happier, healthy life, which is good because it looks like that's what's happening towards the end of the season.